Hi, and welcome to McDonald's Sessions. I'm here with Joe today, and we're going to talk about his running career, which goes way back. He sent me a long list, so he's got a lot of things to talk about. So join me, and we'll get to know him, and I'll get to know his right name. Hello, I'm here with Joe today, and we are going to talk about his running career. We're going to go through pretty much whatever you want to talk about. He's already ran today, so he is straight off of whatever little course that you made around here.
Yeah, just up the street and back, a mile.
Not bad. Not bad.
About a mile.
And it's pretty early too, so he is out here in the dark, which is always fun to run in the dark. So let's start. I said we were going to start back into high school, and he said, well, I want to have something to talk about a little bit before kindergarten. So what happened before kindergarten?
Okay, well, first of all, that's not a career, I guess. Because
hobby.
Yeah, I was a career runner back in kindergarten. No, actually, before kindergarten, I didn't have a bike, and I always hung out with the older kids because of my older brother. He included me in whatever he was doing. So
okay.
Great brother. And but they had bikes and I didn't. So whenever they would go someplace, luckily they didn't go too far most of the time, but I'd have to run and I'd catch up with them eventually, and then they'd bike somewhere else and I'd run and I'd catch up. So I learned about interspersing walks with runs and recovery and all that stuff pretty early. So and I don't know, after that, down through the years, I've just always run wherever I've been.
Okay.
So we got after that a couple of years later, we moved to a different place. We were on 24 Highway in Independence, and we moved to another place on near 7 Highway north of Blue Springs, and I would run around there. And then I joined the track team, Independence Track Club, and so I actually ran on track for a while, and then just kept walking and running. Tend to freak people out when I'd be on a highway, little kid.
Running away from home?
Well, I was late to catch the bus, so I'd just go ahead, a couple 3 miles, what's that, right? Apparently it was a lot. The principal stopped and picked me up a couple times.
So I feel like a lot of people I talk to kind of pick up running. It kind of feels like you were destined to have to run, or even you were pushed into it, like you didn't really have a choice.
I mean, when I was a kid too, when I finally got a bike, it got stolen almost immediately, so I was back to running. So
should have ran after the guy that stole it.
Yeah, no, we never caught him, That's the thing, I run slow, No, it was, left out overnight. But, so just running was a part of something that I did wherever I went.
Yeah.
So high school, I would join the track club and the cross country team, and the thing is, I had other interests too. So I would run. I'd go to the first event usually or two. Yeah. And then my other interests would have to take over. I had academics and performance art, and then whatever else. Yeah. Just stuff, jobs. So and then it's kept going since then throughout whatever I've done. I was in the Army for a few years. I was on the long distance marching team. I was on the 10K team, and then I got out of the Army and I just kept
running.
I was still in Germany for a while, and I kept finding places to run wherever I was. Yeah.
Nice. So when you were in high school, how did you do in track? Like, did you do well, or did you?
I was okay. In cross country, I noticed I was about as fast as the fastest women runners, but slower than like the varsity, and I could have been in JV, but I ended up switching beforehand. My junior year, I was pretty fast, but other than that, everything kind of revolved around, okay, what am I doing? Okay, so I've got a job, and I've got family obligations, and I've got, academics, and I'm lazy.
It doesn't seem like you're lazy as much as you run.
So yeah, it is. I mean, the running is a thing I do. I don't feel like I'm a runner though. It's just a thing I do. It's like, okay, I do it to feel better. Generally, I just feel like myself when I've run some.
So is it more just kind of? It's like some people, it's just a part of their life. Like how many? Well, I'm kind of skipping, but how many days a week do you run?
Well, it varies. I try to cut it down because, getting older, I did Taekwondo for a while and actually injured a knee, so I baby my knee. And I guess that's why I thought of it while I was running today. I wanted to get into it about saying, I want to do more of just survey. So like I said, wherever I go, I run. Wherever I go, I also take classes, education. I've been to like 14 different higher education places throughout my life. I just listed them the other day. I was like, wow. I mean, not different places, but different times. UMKC like 4 times. Mm-hmm. I got Johnson County, I got the associate degree, and then I went to KU 2-3 times, I remember. And got degrees from Wichita State, and I've been here, there, and everywhere. When I was in the Army, I got, what do they call them? Distance learning courses. So anyway, a lot of the courses are survey courses.
Okay.
Right? But survey, the more I think about it, as I get older, I'm like, I got to survey my body to see what's going wrong or going right. Mm-hmm. So my knee is always something, my feet will be something, right? You do it before the run, you do it during the run, you do it after the run for recovery. I just got to think about that while I'm running and the whole time. And it changes over the years, right? I ran this, I think I run a lot of the same runs you do, just slower. And so I start later and I'm running later, but I try to go faster sometimes. And this, what was this? You mentioned it the other day. The brain injury one.
Yep.
So they had a 10K, I ran the 10K and I was doing great. First mile, second mile. My fastest is usually 2 to 2.5 miles. So I was feeling great, doing great. A little more hills, but I'm used to it.
Yeah.
But it was warmer than I wanted it to be. And every year, I'm not ready for the heat.
Yeah.
So I don't think about it, and I'm going to keep pushing. Mile 4, okay, I'm feeling, but I can keep pushing. Somewhere between 4 and 5, I got that kind of a panic attack feeling, like, okay, what's going on? My breathing is wrong, my heartbeat, what's going on? So I had to actually kind of stop.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, if I'd been surveying myself a little earlier and saying, this is about to happen, I could have just, had a more steady run.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I recovered, but it was what do they say? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. It applies to a lot of stuff. So yeah. So before runs, during runs, check my knee, check my feet, check all the stuff that goes wrong when you're 50-something.
So, what do you do? What do you do for recovery? Do you do like cryo,
Not
stretching?
Enough. Not enough.
I know everyone doesn't. I feel like no one does enough. It's
yeah. If I'm smart, I do more. I got to get more stretching in. I've always been loose, so I've never felt like I needed it. But as we get older, the stuff that we thought we didn't need, we start to need. So I got to do more stretching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even like I don't know if you've seen me talk to Sydney, like she will tell you should go to the sauna and there's all these different things that can help you, which I just kind of ignore her, but
I've got access to all that stuff myself and I do it sometimes, but it's more like, I've got something else I got to do. Just like when I was in high school, I've got something else to do, especially in the morning. I'm a go in the morning person and I want to get the most out of my morning.
Yeah.
Like right now I got 4 different things on my mind.
Yeah.
That I've got to do this morning.
It's hard to fit it all in because
I don't have to, but you're just,
I know what you mean because it is hard to fit. I want to do strength training. I want to do like more cardio.
I've set myself up with a treadmill for when it gets cold, and I've got a bike and I got a rowing machine. Honestly, I want to get to about 700 miles a year, and I've been over 1,000 except when I tore my Achilles a couple years ago. Right after I ran the marathons, and my wife says there's but there's no linkage,
Hopefully.
It's just a thing where
Coincidence.
I was running long distance at a certain style, certain pace, certain, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Walk, run, whatever. And then I decided I was going to do volleyball like I did, I love volleyball. So I joined a volleyball team that we had at work, and I was like, oh, I'm going to, I'm just going to go for it like I used to do like 30 years ago. Running up for a spike, taking off. I mean, we see people do it all the time, especially our age. You take off and something goes. Well, I hadn't been training for anything like that.
Yeah.
Right? Not enough strength. And this is another thing. So I want to do more strength training. I want to do more, have more balance. And I think if I drop it to about 700 miles, and I've got this equivalent mile thing that I do with rowing and biking and strength training, and I say, well, I've done equivalent miles, so I've done enough. And if I do that, I'm fine. But it's hard to get, when I go outside, I just go, right?
Yeah.
You sit down at something, you get, okay, I'm moving to this, now I gotta, okay, if I'm doing the strength training, it's back to the survey, what do I need to do? And just slowing down and taking that time to do the survey, I think is gonna be key.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, I always could use a little more core work. I always could use a little more calves because bunch of things. Achilles still is recovering after 3 years. It's still recovering. So, but yeah.
Okay.
It's that survey thing, and so yeah, that's what I want to get to. I don't mind going slower. Like I said, I start late, I finish later.
Yeah.
Whenever I do a race, I love running wherever I am. This is a weird place to run.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I ran in Budapest, when we were in Eastern Europe and just different places. I ran a lot in Frankfurt area, and just like we were in Serbia on a tour, and what's that town? Belgrade. Oh, there's a beautiful course in Belgrade that I just found. It's fun to just go out and run as opposed to, okay, I've got to sit there and, okay, so let's see, I'm working on lateral pull downs, which is one of my favorites, but still, okay, how much weight, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, I mean, I feel that way about a treadmill. That's why even when it's negative degrees outside, I'm outside because
yeah,
I can't do a treadmill. But
yeah, somewhere in the 20s, I start to think, treadmill maybe. Or if I'm very low on energy, I always get colder easier.
yeah,
But yeah, and that's the thing. I got to keep it interesting too, so I'll break it down. I have whole sections. I'm like, okay. Usually it's a half K. I'll do like a little walking maybe to start, just to warm up a little bit. Then I'll do a little bit jogging. Then I'll do a little bit up tempo, and then I'll switch back and forth. And I'll just run through usually half Ks or so. And then I'll be like, I'll get excited and I'll skip the walking, which really isn't good. Because it's kind of like, it's good for you to do different things, and the body does better if you do different things. At least mine does.
yeah.
I don't know, you're running how much?
Too much.
Yeah, I'm going to hit 1,200 miles this year, and it's just way more than I probably should.
I think I checked yesterday, and I'm at 2,100.
Yeah. So I mean, that feels like a lot to me. I don't know. I did the calculations. I'm like, yeah, every day.
So let's talk about some of your races. Like, how did you start running 5Ks? Because it sounded like you kind of just were running in track and stuff, and then somewhere along the way you got into like organized racing.
Well, yeah, I mean, that started again super early. I was in the Independence Track Club, but it was like sprints. I was a little kid, and my longest then was, I don't know, half mile.
Okay.
And then when I got into high school, I was a long sprinter. So it was, I didn't get up speed fast. So it's 200 to 800. So again, but sometimes I do a mile or 2 miles. But in cross country, 5K was pretty typical.
Yeah.
So I was doing 5Ks there. But as time goes on, you're doing different things. When I really started getting back into having road races or whatever, I was already out of the Army again. I think I'd already got my bachelor's degree. It was years later. But, road races. It was 10Ks out in Wichita, the river run. So I do that every year with my brother. And I still know what my times were then. If I hit what my times were then, I feel like I'm doing okay because I really wasn't in great shape for my age.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That was that. It was just, I remember the feels. It was, my calves felt weird, my knees felt weird. It's like, if I'm feeling as good as that, and I'm doing that time, I'm doing okay for 20 some years later, whatever, 30 years later.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, and then when I came to town here, back to town, Kansas City, I was running a bunch, but just nothing organized. And then in 2008, I did the Hospital Hill, and I had a pretty good time. But I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't really do anything more for a while after that, and then just last year or this year, I did the Hospital Hill again just for the fun of it, on the spur of the moment. Nothing else was happening. One of those days, and it was decent, and I did decently well, and I felt pretty decent. I actually saw you. I passed you on mile 10, I think. And, I just felt decent. I was like, not really pushing it, just wanted to see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I decided I'm going to train. And I've done the training over the years, like with different runs,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I trained for this one. But, it's always been, okay, so I'll just do this easy training, the beginner training. Okay, how about the level 1 training? This time I did the level 2 training.
Okay.
And even when I was doing like the level 1 training, I was like, that's a fairly large number of miles, and I'm not getting enough recovery time. But I gave it a shot, right, this year. And it's true. Too many miles, not enough recovery. But I ended up doing okay. So the training, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going back to what I was talking about. I'm going to try to replace miles with like equivalent miles a lot of the time, just to get the kind of work the recovery, do the survey, and see where I need to be for the day and for the week.
Yeah, I think recovery plan's hard because it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
It's different based on your body, your schedule. I mean,
Yeah.
it's tough. So,
Yeah.
so you ran half marathons. Is that kind of your?
I've run more half marathons at this point probably for the past 10 years. Well, that's the thing. I hit the 10Ks just as a part of other training usually.
Yeah.
And the same thing with other shorter runs. But the half marathon seems to be where I've been sitting mostly. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, I did the Kansas City Marathon. I actually trained for that, and I promised my wife this is the only time. And I did it, and I wasn't happy with how slow I was going over that hill. It was coming back to downtown, from mile 22 to mile 25. It's like,
Yeah.
a couple slow miles in there. So I was like, nope. So I trained for the Oz one. Yeah.
The Garmin
Oz.
or whatever.
Olathe.
It's called something different all the time.
And now Garmin does the KC marathon too.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I trained for that one out here, wherever I was as usual. But I did some training on the actual course to get a feel.
Yeah.
And I did somewhat better in the end. But in between time, again, obligations started to pile up, and I needed to try to fit things in. I was like, I don't know if I can make this run because of other things. So I actually ran another marathon during training out at Lake Jacomo. And I did well enough on that one. I was like, okay, if I miss, I did my marathon, right?
Yeah.
I did good enough. And Lake Jacomo, do you ever run out there?
No.
Hills.
Yeah.
Hills. I mean, not as long as the, coming over Maine,
Yeah.
mostly there's one around mile 10 going clockwise. I do that one a lot. That's 12 and a half miles, and if
Okay.
you add a little in, you got a half marathon.
Yeah.
So I did that one direction, and then I went back the other direction, and I got my full marathon, and I was happy. But then, turned out I had time for the Oz run, so I ran that one too. Okay, I've done it. So I'm happy with that. But, when I hear you talking about the 50K and the 100K, and I'm like, maybe. Okay, so if I do a 24 hours and I break it down.
So if you do some of the 50, like a lot of the 50Ks that I've done have been just flat down in Ottawa.
I just ran out here and I was like, this mile is nothing.
Yeah. So it's
Flat.
It's really different than running a marathon because you can take your time, you can stop and eat, and
Yeah.
You know, it's just a lot more relaxed. So
I mean, I've done like training, 27, 28, 30, even 31 miles. I've done a 31-mile training just for fun and because I was in training. You know?
yeah,
So yeah,
So
when you get to
do
do
it.
that, it's like, okay. I really had to stop on that one because I was out in middle of nowhere. I was on a highway, luckily.
Yeah.
And I knew where I was, but my batteries were all dying.
oh,
So I had to stop. And luckily there was like a diner or something there where they had a recharging thing.
oh yeah,
Yeah. So I had to sit there and just wait.
yeah. It's a little bit more miles, like if you get a training plan.
But you didn't have anything out there on that big one, right? The other week? There was nothing.
No,
Yeah.
it's
So if your batteries die, you're that.
yeah. So you really have to. I mean, you have to plan like
Yeah.
to make sure that you have extra batteries. Or I had a little mini charger that
Yeah.
can charge pretty good. Like I had a friend that she ran
Yeah.
100 mile, and I said, "Hey, what did you?" Or she went on the Moab 240.
240 miles?
Yeah, over like 5 days. So I was like,
Ooh.
I know she had some kind of
Yeah.
charging thing. So I
Yeah.
asked her, and I bought the same one, and it works well.
Well, in 2020, I was going to do the Nijmegen marches as a part of kind of like I'm recovering from the Achilles, so I'm not going to run as much. So I did the Nijmegen marches when I was in the Army. And that's 4 days, 25 miles each day. And actually, my times were, I was going as fast as I ran the marathon,
Yeah,
but I was, like 21, 22. I was 22. So, but I was like, I can do it again at a different pace.
right.
So I was going to do it in 2020. It's like, because that's 30 years later, good time to do it. And then the COVID thing happens.
Yeah,
But part of what I was doing was, I learned from the marathon training that it's mostly about planning,
right.
right? So I was like, yes, I got this big battery pack, and I got another battery pack and another battery pack, and I was going to do all that, and I still got them. But I don't trust them.
Yeah,
It's hard to trust those technology things.
yeah. So do you have a favorite race that you've done? It doesn't even have to be one of the marathons. Like
This is actually one of my favorite halves. I
Okay.
don't know why. Oh, well, part of it is it feels flatter.
Yeah,
It
it's-
does have some hills.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like, okay, out and back. You know where you are at all times. There's a little, it's just blip, 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 blip. Yeah.
are you excited that we're gonna? Last year was supposed to be the last year.
Yeah,
It's
I
gonna
missed
happen.
it. I had to miss it for something. So I'm so excited that we can get to do it again this year.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm
I hope they keep doing it.
Yeah, me too. I was just talking, we were just talking about it yesterday that I wish they would start it earlier for when it is, like in the summer.
Every race.
That's true. I was saying just start at 6 a.m. That would be so awesome
Yeah.
because by the end of that race last year, especially, I was dying and there was people that had to be like shuttled off on golf carts because they were passing out because it was so
yeah.
hot at the end.
And luckily, I usually catch myself soon enough to slow down to the point where I don't pass out. But there have been times this past summer when I was doing that hard training, it was
Yeah.
close. I did that 15K out, I forget what it was. It was around here also. That one park I've seen you running.
Heritage Park.
Yeah, Heritage
Yeah.
Park. And it was an Easter thing. I saw some guys that I had to stop and help a couple of people who were just about to pass out. It's
Yeah.
like, that's
I'm really
so-
careful with that because
Yeah.
the heat affects me a lot too. So I will slow down a lot. I mean, I'm not afraid to walk. I mean, I feel like for the most part anymore, I don't have anything to prove except to myself. So I'm just like,
Yeah, that's something else I think about. It's like this hero impulse where it's like, I'm going to be the hero. I'm
Yeah.
going to do this thing. I'm like, yeah, who am I? What am I the hero of, right?
yeah, it is hard though. I mean, you'll start a race out and all these people are running fast.
Yeah.
And you don't even, I sometimes will look down and I'm going like a 9-minute mile for a
Yeah.
10K or something like, that's way too fast. I need to slow down.
Little fast, little fast.
Yeah. But,
I've always wanted to hit a 10K. Actually, I think I did some when I was, again, back in high school that were faster.
yeah.
But, I'd like to hit a 10K where I'm just doing 9-minute miles. That'd be good.
How about 8-minute miles and let's just get crazy.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, that's one of the things I'd like to go back to. I think it's a smart thing to try different lengths.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to get back to doing more 5Ks, like at a pace. So that's kind of my plan this winter. I'm trying to decide between that and other things because I love the super long ones like we're talking about.
Yeah.
But I think it's good for your body to do some of the shorter ones too. With the, I mean, I feel like more strength training, more just up tempo stuff, and then put it together as you train until you've got a full package for the run.
So do you have a target race that you're training for right now, or are you just kind of training in general?
This time of year, I tend to be at loose ends a little bit, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, last week I ran 30 miles just like good weather. I skipped yesterday, and that was it.
Okay.
As far as the runs, and just when it's good weather. I mean, a little cold for some people, but just run it. But I don't know. What do we got coming up? I usually do the Santa Dash somewhere. Westport.
I think that's
spur of the moment.
I think it might be next weekend,
Okay.
but I don't know that for
And
sure.
that's the thing. If it comes up and I'm ready for it, and it's Westport's not far from where I live, so I'll just pop up the hill and I'll run it.
Okay. Do you do the what's the New Year's one? Hangover Half?
No, where's that at?
It's Overland Park. It's on January 1st.
I took my wife out one time to the Sweetheart Run.
Yes, it's the same. It's that same general area.
Okay, but there was a Sweetheart Run out in the downtown airport.
Okay, that's not it. That's not the same one.
Yeah, I think there's duplicates of some of these, like the St. Pat's and Valentine's. Out of the airport, 4 miles around, just the loop around the outside of the airport, and the winds were pretty crazy, and she's not a cold weather person. So she always talks about that when I say, "You want to come with me?" She's like, She used to run cross country in high school too, but yeah, I think she's more of a warm weather person.
Yeah.
So it's always funny. You want to come? And she looked like the kid from Christmas Story, she's not like this. And I had to tell her a story the whole time to distract her from the cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. But yeah, no, I got nothing planned exactly, but I'm trying to just let myself, there's a little bit of a lull in here.
Yeah.
So, the spring is coming up, and I'm thinking, okay, I can, what is it? There's something in April. I always hit the trolley run. And that's a pretty early one, but there's something before that. There's
the Parkway's around then.
Oh, that's it. I was thinking about training for the Rock the Parkway. Actually, that was my fastest half I think I've ever done. I actually ran from home down to the starting line and back basically to home again.
Yeah.
And that's a half. And it's a little bit harder than what they were doing because I was going uphill on the return. But for some reason, it was one of those days,
Yeah.
You get one of those days. So it's like they're playing my jam coming up past that big fountain.
Yeah.
What is that? Hall & Oates, You Make My Dreams Come True.
Yeah.
You make my dreams. I was like, that's my jam. Yeah, but yeah, that's a good one. I like the temperature usually. And the course is nice. I actually was out there at the Thanksgiving Day run being a course monitor for the fun of it. I ran the run.
Yeah.
The same course, and then I stood there and
just watched.
What am I doing? I don't know. I can't seem to stop anybody when they want to cross paths.
Yeah.
But at least you can. Somebody said, "Oh, that's a very polite clap there." Yeah. But yeah, that was a good one too. I enjoy running along Ward Parkway, but they have no sidewalks.
Yeah.
During
if it's not closed,
the downhill end of it. So yeah, the Rock the Parkway.
Yeah.
I might train for that, but again, I want to do maybe 5Ks, and I don't know. The back of my head says these ultras sound exciting, but that's like I said, I trained for the Nijmegen. Actually, ended up doing a 30K version of the Nijmegen, 30K 4 days.
Yeah.
Last year out in Colorado, like a virtual because of the COVID thing. The Nijmegen, hey, I'll tell you, anybody who's interested in long distance marching, that is the thing if you can. They've done it for 100 and something years. They only stopped for World War II and maybe World War I, probably, and then for COVID.
Yeah.
And that's it. And they're doing it again, as far as I know. The standard length is 40K a day for 4 days, about 25 something miles a day for 4 days. And you have extra loops if you want to make it longer. There's a 50K version and there's a 30K version. I was training for the 50K, and yeah, I gotta say, starting at about 12:30 a.m. is great. Because you got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Plenty of time. Nice, cool time. Even in the summer, you're kind of cooler, right? No sun hitting you. So that's how I did it out in Colorado, the 30K, and I'd finish about the time everybody was kind of getting going, and
that's always good.
It's a neat thing to do the ultras, right? 'Cause it's like I don't know, something about it. But yeah, I gotta decide between those. I'm probably gonna, because I'll just fall back on my half marathon thing, but
okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
So when you have these long runs or races, I pretty much ask everyone this: do you have like a mantra, or how do you get through either the miles that you don't want to, or the days that you don't want to get out there?
Ooh, different things. I try to let it come to me, because different inspiration that works one day doesn't work the next day. Sometimes, often. I can't push myself into anything. I learned that early. So I just gotta let my own inspiration come from wherever, hindbrain or wherever. If it comes, it comes, and if it doesn't, I just kind of push through anyway. But it's, not nearly as workable or whatever. Some basic things, over the years you kind of get into grooves. Right now I'm in a breathing pattern that keeps me up to about an 11.5 minute mile no matter what, once I'm warmed up. And it's just, it's like a 3-2-3-2-4, 3-2-3-2-4. So
okay.
I do a little bit more drive on the breath out, lengthen the stride, maybe move the arms a little bit more. And then for the 4, I get a fuller breath. So it's a good balance, but I've also found that I can get stuck into it to the point like I did on that 10K around the brain injury one.
Yeah.
I was so into it that I didn't notice my body was kind of, tanked out.
Yeah.
But it does work. Well, at that point, I was probably running like down near a 9-minute mile again. So I was overdoing something.
Yeah.
I was like, I can do this. But yeah, the 3-2-3-2-4 works for just about any length of run for me most of the time.
Right.
Yeah. And then I work on footfall and stride and push off, and I try to emphasize my arms a little bit more, because you can tend to get down here.
Yeah.
And to the point where you're down here, and then you're like, and then all that stuff, just keeping loose and letting myself start with a walk is sometimes the key.
Right.
Because if you can get started, at some point the rest of you takes over, right? And just says, I can do this, and then I can do this, and then I can do this, and then I can do this. And I was just thinking about that one that I trained for this year. It was a different course. It was a great course. I love the new course for the Kansas City. I don't know if they're going to do it next year, but starting with kind of some of these miles down near the plaza, it's a little bit of a drink though, right? Because I was like, I don't know how much I'm going to have left.
Yep.
So I took it a little slower than I needed to, and then I didn't push too hard coming back down the hill the whole time. I don't know how much I'm going to have left for that last mile. I didn't want to get all cramped up and all exhausted and heat panicked and all that stuff. So I just kind of cruised the whole time, and my time suffered, that's all.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to know when you haven't done the course and conditions change.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I think a brand new course is way more exciting because of that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's fun to run somewhere you've run so many times that.
Well, yeah, and you got to be happy with just having done it, right?
Yeah.
Because it was a fun course, but the whole time I'm like, I was going to hit a personal best, right? No. Yeah, I had to back off from that because of the summer training. I realized with the heat, I just can't safely do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to push through to the point where I'm unsafe.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, I see my battery's about ready to die.
Oh,
so
sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about before that happens?
No. No, I guess I'd encourage anybody who's, running or exercising any way they're exercising, that survey thing.
Yeah, that is definitely a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I definitely will sometimes just roll out of bed and go run and not even think about it.
But yeah, I mean, if you do enough miles and you're just a little cautious to begin with, you can survey on the road, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, this has been really good. It's been really good to get to know you here, kind of your story. I know that you've run a ton of races all over the world, which is really cool. I mean, that's the kind of good thing about running. No matter where you go, you can always do it. You don't really need anything but your shoes. And
almost every place you can find a course.
Yeah.
Or something like a course. Like, I mean, out here, sidewalks aren't great, blah, blah, blah. But, as long as you're careful.
You can make your course a good course out here.
Yeah.
Do you use Strava?
No, I hear a lot of people do. I know
So
a lot of people do.
Strava has a cool thing that if you are at a spot, you can go to maps and you can say how far you want to run. It'll just make a course for you. And I've done that when I've been traveling and stuff, and it's been really cool because a lot of times, let's say if I was, I don't know, in Austin, Texas or whatever, and I wanted to run, I'd just do an out and back. But if you do it via Strava, they'll give you a big circle.
Yeah.
And I've just done it lots of times, and I've really enjoyed it. So that might be something to try.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I've got the Garmin watch here. I like the simple ones because I don't have to think about the interface.
Yeah.
And that works. And then I've got on my phone, I've got the Map My Run.
I think it kind of does the same thing.
So I just turn both of them on and go.
Yeah.
And they'll tell me they don't always agree perfectly, and then I'll be like, yeah, so it's either this or this, but it's somewhere close to that. The distance. And then I'll just look at my distance. Okay, I got to get back by this time, so I'm about. Let's see, my math sometimes goes off, but you're like, okay, like today, I'm like, okay, I've got 16 minutes, so I got to turn around give myself a couple extra minutes, turn around after about 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes when you go out on a run, though, your mind, you have runner's brain, and your math is off. I found that a lot of times where.
Oh yeah, I've got courses. I know how far it is around Loose Park. It's 1.38 miles, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I go from home to there and around there and back, I'm about 2 miles.
Yeah.
If I do it again, okay, about 4 miles. But or if I just go around the loop, at some point I'm off. I'm trying to hit a 10K, so then I gotta do a little out and back near the end. And I always miscalculate that little out and back. So it's like, okay, I'm a little short, a little long, whatever.
Yeah. That, and it's really bad too when you're trying to run like a 10K and you got to run the 0.2 and then you got to.
Like I know to get home, I got a quarter mile. Okay, so I'm passing this point. From this point, it's a quarter mile home. So now subtract quarter mile from 10K. Now I'm 5.9, whatever, 6. Okay, so but here I'm hitting 5.87 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Probably more like, that's probably close. So then I'm going, okay, so 5.96 minus 5.87, I call it 0.15, right? And I'm way off, and then I'm like, okay, whatever. So you stop where you stop, and then I try to hit, the same elevation at the end that I've got at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it just doesn't always work. So anyway, so my battery's about ready to die.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah. I'm a chat person in the morning. My wife hates it.
But it was really good to meet you. I'm glad that you came to talk with me, and I really enjoyed it. So hopefully you all learned something new from you. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, have fun, and
Well, thank you all for watching, and I will talk to you next time.